Erik Ten Hag, 2 games at Bayer Leverkusen, out. Why have they done it?
It was funny because the sporting director, Simon Rolfes, who used to play for them, of course, he spoke about it at lunchtime today. He gave a press conference. Erik Ten Hag's had his social media retort, and maybe we'll get to that in a little minute. But Rolfes said, look, I made a mistake, but it would have made it a worse mistake if I hadn't have done anything about it. Now, of course, you go back to him taking over in July when he wasn't the first choice. They thought they had Cesc Fabregas. They didn't. Because Como wouldn't let him go, and Fabregas wasn't prepared to go to war with them, of course, as a part shareholder. And so they ended up a couple of choices down the line with Ten Hag, and it felt like quite a good placeholder. He's got a good reputation in Germany. But from the off, there were misgivings. I mean, about 2 weeks in, they went on this promotional tour of Brazil and lost 5-1 to the Flamengo under-20s. And then he said after that, well, no one's bothered about the results of pre-season games, are they? Everyone's a little bit on edge. And then from there, of course, lots of people who are defending Ten Hag will understandably say, of course, they've sold a lot of players. Even before Hincapie, they'd sold over 200 million euros worth of players this summer, so it's a real sea change. But one of the key players going was Granit Xhaka, of course, who was the chief lieutenant on pitch of Xabi Alonso. But they felt that he didn't really make much sense. In a post-Xabi Alonso world, they could get out from under the rest of his expensive contract, make some money with him. And the CEO, Fernando Caro, and Rolfes, the sporting director, they signed this off with Ten Hag, and then Ten Hag goes public and says, I don't think we should sell him. I'm pretty sure that's not the conversation we had 2 days ago. And this was one of a series of things that really set them on edge. And then you could tell in the first couple of games, not only were the performances poor, not only did the team look really untrained, but it was the fact that Mark Flecken, who of course has just joined from Brentford, after the first game where they lost at home to Hoffenheim, he was happy to tear the team's performance to bits in front of journalists. And you're like, well, if Ten Hag really had authority here, that wouldn't happen. You had an argument over who was taking a penalty at the weekend, and the captain had to step in. Ten Hag moaned about that in the press conference afterwards. So he's contributed quite a lot to his own downfall as well.
Andy, we've got about 15 seconds. Can you tell us how Ten Hag reacted to his sacking?
He said it was all Leverkusen's fault, basically. He said he didn't feel backed by the club, and everyone who's ever stuck with him has won a trophy at the end of the season. Spoiler alert, if they'd have stuck with him, they wouldn't have.
Welcome back to FootballPulse TV, your #1 stop for football news, transfer updates, and breaking stories from around the world. Today, we dive into a huge development from Germany. Bayer Leverkusen have officially sacked Erik Ten Hag. Yes, the Dutch manager's time in charge of the Bundesliga side has come to an end. And in this video, we'll break down exactly why the Leverkusen board made this decision, what went wrong for Ten Hag, the big moments that sealed his fate, and what comes next for the club. So, sit back and let's get into the full story. Expectations versus reality. When Erik Ten Hag was appointed at Bayer Leverkusen, the expectations were sky high. This is a club that had risen to the very top under Xabi Alonso, a team that had challenged Bayern Munich's dominance and set a new standard in the Bundesliga. Ten Hag was brought in with the hope of continuing that success, maintaining a fast, dynamic style of play, and competing seriously in both Germany and Europe. But instead, results told a different story. Leverkusen slipped in the Bundesliga table, dropping points against sides they were expected to beat. The gap between them and Bayern, Dortmund, and Leipzig started to grow, and suddenly, the dream of another title challenge was fading fast. European disappointment. For a club like Leverkusen, the Champions League is more than just a competition. It's a stage to prove themselves among Europe's elite. Unfortunately, Ten Hag's side struggled. Key group stage games were lost, tactical decisions were questioned, and the team often looked second best against Europe's top sides. For the board, these European struggles were a major red flag. After all, success in Europe is not just about pride. It's also about prestige, reputation, and finances. And Ten Hag wasn't delivering. Style of play and fan reaction. One of the biggest criticisms of Ten Hag's tenure at Leverkusen was the style of play. Under Xabi Alonso, the team was known for being fearless, attacking, and entertaining. A team that excited fans every weekend. But under Ten Hag, things became slower, more cautious, and, at times, uninspiring. Fans started voicing their frustrations, questioning whether the Dutchman was the right man to lead this squad. And when the fans lose belief, pressure quickly mounts on the board to make a change. Dressing room issues. Reports also began to emerge of tension in the dressing room. Some players reportedly struggled to adapt to Ten Hag's methods. His strict tactical demands and constant rotation seemed to affect the chemistry of the squad. Leverkusen have a young and talented group, full of energy and flair. But under Ten Hag, several stars looked unsettled and underutilized. This disconnect between manager and players is often the final straw for any coach. The final straw. So what sealed Ten Hag's fate? According to sources close to the club, the final straw came after a string of poor results, particularly a damaging defeat in the Bundesliga combined with a crucial European elimination. For the Leverkusen hierarchy, this was enough evidence that the project wasn't working. They acted swiftly, not wanting the season to spiral out of control. Board's long-term vision. It's also important to remember that Leverkusen are a club with a clear long-term plan. Their vision is built on fast, attacking football, smart recruitment, and developing young talent. The board felt Ten Hag didn't fully fit into this philosophy, and instead of waiting longer, they made the decision to cut ties early in search for a coach who better matches their identity. What's next? So, what comes next for Bayer Leverkusen? The club will now begin to search for a new manager who can reignite the spark Alonso left behind and get the best out of this talented squad. Names will already be circulating, and fans will be eager to see who steps into the hot seat. As for Erik Ten Hag, questions remain about where he goes from here. He's a respected coach with experience at Ajax and Manchester United, but this dismissal will undoubtedly raise doubts about his future at the top level. So there you have it, the full story behind why Bayer Leverkusen decided to sack Erik Ten Hag. It came down to poor results, European failure, a loss of identity, and growing tension within the squad. The board acted decisively, and now Leverkusen begin a new chapter. What do you think, football fans? Was sacking Ten Hag the right call? Or should Leverkusen have given him more time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to FootballPulse TV for more breaking football stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.